What's going on, guys? Dan from SSG bringing you another Edison format match here. This time we have my cousin Rob on the left playing Fairies and my brother Tim on the right playing my Diva gadget deck. It's a more updated build from the one we profiled on the channel a while back, but nonetheless we have two interesting decks here, and Rob opening up with a set monster and a set back row. So pretty decent start for the Fairies deck. Most likely we're going to have a set Raikou or a set Nova Summoner of sorts for turn 1, getting into those Fairies or milling and interacting with the opponent. And this is a pretty interesting matchup because I think both decks have a lot to do against one another. You know, the gadgets all replace themselves, which isn't very good against Rob's removal, as Tim does open up with yellow gadget here. You know, he attacks and runs into a Raikou. That's not really the best exchange for Rob, as Tim figures out which gadget he's going to grab. Of course, it's the green one, as he sort of thinks it's the red. I think I'm in the background reminding him that it goes the other way, but he's going to grab green gadget nonetheless. And as I mentioned, Rob has a lot of removal in his deck, things like Deep Prison, Bottomless, not very good against the gadget deck, and same thing with Raikou, just going 1-for-1 with a card that exchanges itself. But it looks like this time he's going to have Nova Summoner to go grab himself a Fairy out of the deck. So decent start for both players. Rob's going to get into his Fairy toolbox here, going to grab a Fairy from his deck, and then Tim just opening up with the gadget, hopefully setting some back row behind it. Diva gadget, one of the better openings is to set a bunch of back rows behind a gadget and kind of just start controlling the game, play like a normal gadget control deck, and then being able to combo those floating gadgets with Deep Sea Diva with cards like Ultimate Offering, Caius. Pretty sweet deck, but you really have to have those back rows to protect the gadgets to actually get value out of them. But we're going to see what Rob grabs here. I think that going into a Shining Angel would be a pretty good idea, but he ends up going for a Dimensional Alchemist, which also awesome. He's going to guarantee that he gets at least one banish off there. Also, maybe it depends on his hand. Maybe he has a return from a different dimension. Potentially can get a fast Christia into play. Maybe start pushing very quickly. But I think Dimensional Alchemist also a very good card against the gadget decks, as it just replaces itself. It's not going to just get run over by a gadget or things like that. I think it's just going to be a good floater to kind of keep up with the card advantage of the gadget deck. Don't want to go down in cards losing so many things, but looks like we go over to Rob's turn and he banishes an MST from the top of his deck. So not the best hit here. But Tim actually didn't have any back row to set behind that gadget, which tells me he has a bunch of gadgets bricked up in the hand, which is not the best. I think there are a lot of monsters in the gadget list, but a lot of back rows as well. And we have another Dimensional Alchemist banishing a Shining Angel this time, so at least one of the Alchemists will float on this turn, and we're going to have an attack over the yellow gadget. So both of them at 1800, going to apply a little bit of pressure to Tim here, and also just float on the backswing. But Tim has the potential to get rid of one of these Dimensional Alchemists without it replacing itself on this turn, since we only have one banished monster on Rob's side. And Rob passes over to Tim, and he's going to see if he can do just that. And yeah, so he's going to straight up activate Smashing Ground here, taking a -1. So Rob can go grab that Shining Angel out of the banished pile. But presumably the gadget is now going to come down and attempt to kill the Dimensional Alchemist for a +1. So we have green gadget coming down. I'm going to search Tim out a red gadget. And it's good that he has green in the spot, because he's just going to be able to clean attack over the Dimensional Alchemist at 1300. So attacking over for 100, just easy +1, +2 really, because the gadget replaces itself and then destroys the Dimensional Alchemist, so free cards there. And then looks like Tim finally drew a back row, so he's going to set 1. And then he's going to pass over to Rob. So just kind of exchanging in this early game here, gadgets getting rolling, as well as Rob setting up his graveyard, getting some things to hand, and he's looking to potentially summon that Shining Angel that he has in hand, maybe attempt to crash into the 1400 green gadget. And he starts off with Heavy Storm out of the back row, taking out Tim's Solemn Judgment. And then we do have the Shining Angel coming down and attempting to crash, as we will. So Rob getting a little bit of value here. both players in the early game just exchanging 1-for-1s, +1s, things like that, and now we have a Warrior Lady out of the deck, and I think Warrior Lady is one of the better cards in this matchup because it just beats over all of the gadgets as Rob attacks for 1500 directly. So it's going to actually cost a real card out of Tim, a thing like Smashing Ground, like a true 1-for-1, for Tim to actually deal with it, a card like Dimensional Prison, things like that. Or even a Diva. But here comes Christia this early in the game into an empty board. Christia is going to be unbelievably powerful as he has the 2 Dimensional Alchemists in the grave as well as the Shining Angel and Nova Summoner. So he's fanning out his options here, looking to grab whichever one is best in the matchup essentially. But looks like he's thinking about Dimensional Alchemist, and he does grab Alchemist, so fairly interesting here. Really strong. I mean, now we have Christia, DD Warrior Lady this early in the game. Tim is at 4100. He's kind of on a fast clock here. And now with the gadget deck, a lot of times you can't really deal with boards like this. You know, you have to rely on your cards like Smashing Ground to get you through. But we have a red gadget going to thin out the deck and search out a yellow. And we're going to see what Tim has drawn in the last few turns, as he hasn't really had many back rows, but he really needs a comeback play, something like a Mirror Force. As he sets 1 and passes over to Rob. So Rob has the tempo now here with Christia in play. Neither player can special summon, but also the Warrior Lady attacking over all of Tim's monsters. 1500 is pretty big, and Tim's going to have like a Diva or a Caius to get rid of that, or some sort of 1-for-1 removal spell or trap. But Rob's going to go straight into his battle phase and attack over the red gadget with the DD Warrior Lady for 200. That's going to knock Tim down to 39, and Christia declares the direct attack into Raigeki Break. So Raigeki Break, a one-of in this Diva deck, this Diva gadget deck. A really awesome one. You kind of want to draw it in the late game when you already have a lot of value going. He's going to discard a red gadget, which is normally what you discard, like one of the extra gadgets in your hands that was a +1. And Christia goes to the top of the deck here. So Rob really sequencing his cards very well, and it's his first time playing the Fairy deck, so I know he's had a lot of experience against the deck, so just kind of figuring it out here. Adding the Dimensional Alchemist will be the 4th Fairy in his graveyard, presumably, to go grab back the DD Warrior Lady when it's banished. But he's actually going to run out the Alchemist here, and banish the Christia. So interesting, yeah, I like this play a lot actually. Just gets the Christia out, and once that Dimensional Alchemist dies, there will be 4 Fairies in graveyard, and the Christia will be in hand. So very good sequencing there from Rob. Not wanting to draw the Christia, just hey, get it banished. My Dimensional Alchemist is now a Christia, as he sets 2 back rows behind these floating monsters here. And now we're going to see what Tim's response is here. We're going to have a yellow gadget. So exactly what I was saying earlier, yellow gadget not really matching up well against DD Warrior Lady, not really matching up well against the Dimensional Alchemist, but gonna grab a green and then attempt to crash into the Dimensional Alchemist. Most likely looking to put 5 gadgets in the graveyard to go and activate that Pot of Avarice, which makes a lot of sense. The gadget isn't really doing anything in play. You want to take the damage now and get your Avarice live as soon as possible. I like to talk about these half tempos and here comes the Avarice. I like to talk about these half tempos that you can gain in Edison format. It's not really like a full play, but like the fact that he's activating Avarice this turn it is a lot stronger than activating it on the following turn and kind of just taking attacks from Rob. So the potential to draw sort of like a Mirror Force or some sort of out card is very strong here on this turn, whereas like if you drew the Mirror Force on the following turn, you might be already dead at that point. It's really important to take these like what I call half tempos and just getting your keeping your game plan flowing even at the cost of some life points or a card. And we have a Smashing Ground gonna take care of the Warrior Lady, and then a Gold Sark. So Gold Sarcophagus coming down, and let's see where Tim's going to search here. It's going to be a Mirror Force, so he's just going to try and get a card that is going to get a +1 and protect himself here. But it looks like he's actually conceding, so Rob taking game 1, the gadget deck not getting too much going. You really need those back rows, and Tim must have bricked on a bunch of gadgets, even though we're playing a 45 card version now. More updated list that's been doing a lot better for me in testing. Still has some inconsistencies that we can work on. Let's see if we can get Ultimate Offering going or Diva gadget combos going in game 2 here. But we have the ideal start, of course, the red gadget coming in and grabbing a yellow gadget. So I like gadgets just for their consistency here. Every turn you're going to just get a +1, and if you can grind out with your opponent, that is a winning game plan against a lot of decks. As Tim adds Upstart to the mix. 45 card deck with Upstart Goblins. Very interesting here, but I like this list a lot. My new updated Diva gadget list, as Tim sets another back row, or one back row rather. So another set 1 play here. Gadget in one back row, not the best, but against Fairies, one back row can really kind of take their whole turn away, or really just interact with them in meaningful ways. So we have a Dimensional Alchemist on the left side for Rob on turn 1, banishing the Nova Summoner. Rob not afraid, just removing the top card of his deck randomly and attacking to the red gadget for 500. My list plays a lot of fairy monsters so that you can banish on turn 1 with Alchemist more consistently. And Rob is going to set a back row as well. I like the high count of fairy monsters, a lot of recruiters to go summon the Christias early. And then we have green gadget coming down now. Tim completing the cycle, going and grabbing the first, he's grabbing the red now. So he could have went for yellow, but he's going to go for Dimensional Alchemist, the attack over Dimensional Alchemist, which is really important, just keeping the board clear. And Rob is going to grab that Nova Summoner and take 100 for his troubles. And let's see what we got here. Tim adds another back row, of course, and then Rob is going to have some sort of play to try and combat this. I think this is kind of a tough spot for the Fairies deck without something like a Mirror Force, or Heavy Storm rather. I think you're going to have a tough spot just kind of facing down Tim's card advantage, facing down the back rows. This can be a lot to deal with in this deck for the Fairy deck, which is sort of what I was explaining. Both decks kind of have a lot of things to combat one another. It just depends who's ahead on board and who's doing their thing the best. And we have Tim just accelerating here. We have another gadget coming in, going and grabbing the green gadget off of yellow gadget. And now we have 2 gadgets in play and 2 back rows, and this deck could be very explosive. Right now he could flip an Ultimate Offering, drop a Diva, and just start doing crazy OTK combos. But I like this Diva gadget list. The reason why I designed it is just you can play this controlling game whenever you want. And we have attack over Raikou here, potentially targeting the green gadget. Rob's kind of thinking about it, because targeting a gadget isn't very good. You know, gadgets kind of just replacing themselves. Raikou doesn't even really get a real card, as those gadgets all netted +1s and just gain card advantage for Tim. But he does end up taking down the potential attacker in green gadget, milling over 3 trap cards. Not very good. We have Return, Dust, and Mirror Force going to the graveyard. And then Tim adding another back row here. So now you're expecting Tim to have something like a Starlight Road or a Dark Bribe or a Solemn Judgment to protect those back rows from Heavy Storm. And we're kind of just rolling now with the gadget control game plan here. But Rob is going to try and break that up by summoning a Nova Summoner and threatening to attack over that yellow gadget. And he does attack over for 200. So Rob just establishing the board now, although Tim has 3 back rows. We have Nova Summoner just in play, ready to beat down, and also float if Tim does end up summoning something that can attack over that Nova Summoner. And Rob's still at that 1 back row. He hasn't used it for quite a while, but Tim is going to actually MST it in the end phase, and it's a Torrential Tribute. Makes sense why Rob hasn't used it yet. Just Torrential, not the best card against normal summoning gadgets, so I think once you get to 3 it's useful. But we're going to have a Smashing Ground over the Nova Summoner here. And Tim still has 2 back rows and a full grip, it looks like. Just a bunch of gadgets to summon, maybe a Diva. And he's going to normal summon the red gadget here. So Gadget's just getting that one-for-one grindy game plan, just going and going and going, and Rob is going to have trouble dealing with this now, and it's all about the interaction. Having those back rows just threatens so much, and Gadgets, you don't really have to commit anything. You just summon an attack, and Rob is going to take 13 here down to 76. And both players at fairly high life totals. That upstart on turn 1, bringing Rob up to 9,000. You know, just one of the cards is always worth it, guys. Always worth it. If you can put upstart into your deck, you should most likely do that. And 86 isn't very different from 76 here, but we have a Heavy Storm coming down and a Dark Bribe response from Tim. So Rob getting a +1 either way there, just killing 2 back rows, or just getting an extra card, an extra draw here for his Heavy Storm. And I like protecting the back row. I think having the extra point of interaction versus the Rob's extra card is really important. Rob can have dead cards in hand, but also, like, you know, things like multiple copies of normal summons and things like that. Whereas the back row is going to be very important to protect, as Tim can interact on this turn. So I think keeping that back row is really important here. But it looks like we have a special summon of Soul, Purity, and Light, so we're going to have to force out a Bottomless Trap Hole from Tim's side to keep his Gadget in play and keep the tempo on board. I love Soul and Purity and Light just for that reason. It's just an additional thing to do, whereas if Rob's hands was clogged with normal summons, you can't really extend anymore. But he passes over to Tim here, who just has the red Gadget in play now and a few cards to work with. So we're going to see the follow-up play here is Tim going to summon a Gadget and go for damage. Rob does still have a very high life total. The Gadget deck does eventually have to win the game before the other deck can start doing some nasty things and keeping control, but we do have an attack here. So direct attack, presumably playing around Gores. This deck does have a lot of ways to play around Gores, things like Caius in main phase 2. But just an attack for 1300 here, not committing that second Gadget here, and Rob is now down to 63. So it looks like no Gores, and then we have the summon of Gadget now. So I like this idea here from Tim, just kind of like, even if he doesn't have a Caius or some way to play around the Gores, he's just showing Rob that, like, hey, like, I'm in no rush to win this game. Like, I have card advantage. I'm gonna just summon a +1 every single turn, as he sets a back row as well. As long as you have the interaction to keep going with that +1 Gadget control game plan, as long as you don't run out of that interaction, you have no reason to go and rush and try to win the game. But he passes over to Rob. Rob does nothing and passes back. So Rob potentially in a bad spot here, or he does have the Gores and he's going to use it this turn. Sort of an interesting Gores mind game going on right now between both players. And we're going to see now Tim has 2 monsters to attack with, which is kind of a faster clock, and the 1200 coming in from Yellow Gadget first. We're going to see what happens here in this battle phase, and then the 13 coming down. Rob at 51 before the 13, and here comes Gores. So we're going to take that 1300 damage and drop the Gores. And now Rob at 38. So he did have the Gores, and now we have the main phase to Caius. So both players had the thing that the other one thought. And we have a Herald of Orange Light now coming down to negate the Caius here. I love this use of Herald of Orange Light when your opponent tries to play around the Gores, and then by having a Caius or some sort of main phase 2 effect, and then the Herald of Orange Light just saving it and making sure that that board is going to stay intact, really strong. And Tim sets 2 more back rows, and Rob is going to try to attack into them here with the Gores and the token, as the Gores gets deprisoned, and then the token will trade off with the red Gadget here. So really interesting interaction, and I love that use of Herald of Orange Light, just making sure that Gore's board stays intact and being able to actually utilize the Gores and the token. But Rob sets a defense position monster, passes to Tim, and we have a green Gadget from Tim's side, just keeping the +1 train rolling. And Tim still has that one form of interaction. Out of the 2 back rows he set, that one is still closest to his deck, and now we have a Gold Sarcophagus. So with Tim being at a fairly high life total, that Gold Sarcophagus looking to grab, I don't know, there's a lot of powerful cards. He can grab Ultimate Offering, he can grab Deep Sea Diva, he can grab Pot of Avarice, and we do see a Pot of Avarice, so I do like Gold Sark in this 45 card Diva gadget list, which I should probably profile on the channel. Again, the updated list is much better than the original one that's on there now. But it looks like we're going to banish that Pot of Avarice, just a grindy card, get the gadgets back in the deck, draw some extra cards, and I like I like Gold Sarcophagus for Pot of Avarice in this spot. And it looks like Tim is actually going to pass without attacking into that face down Efficient monster. Most likely looking to avoid things like Raikou onto the back row, potentially getting walled by a DD Warrior Lady or something like that. But Rob draws return and immediately flips up DD Warrior Lady, so I'm going to have a potential attack over the green gadget here. DD Warrior Lady, just excellent card in this matchup, and we're going to see an attack for 100. And DD Warrior Lady now just sticking around, like it already got a +1. Even though the gadget replaced itself, it just kills a monster and then just like stays in play for the tempo advantage. And I think Warrior Lady is just excellent in the matchup for that reason. 16 defense, has 15 attack, just does so much against this deck. And Rob adds a back row to that board of DD Warrior Lady and passes over to Tim here with one counter off of the Gold Sarcophagus to grab the Pot of Avarice, so waiting for that. But we're going to see what he has to say about this DD Warrior Lady. A lot of times I don't even mind just summoning Gadget here and just like passing, you know, and it looks like he is going to at least summon the Gadget and search out the yellow Gadget. But I don't mind just like adding Gadget to board, searching out, thinning the deck, and then just passing. You know, I think it's better than doing nothing, and we're going to see exactly what the follow-up is here for Tim. Maybe he sets some more back row, but it looks like we have Upstart Goblin, so giving Rob a little bit more life total here, bringing him up to 48, and then another back row. So yeah, I don't mind this play. I think you're just gonna thin out the deck, get another +1, set another back row. You don't really gain too much on board, but it still forces Rob to like attack into you, and you're thinning your deck and before activating that Upstart Goblin. So I think it's definitely a solid play here. And we have an attack with the DD Warrior Lady over the red gadget. So that's a 200 swing there. And Rob just doing what he's supposed to do, just assuming tempo. Looks like he's adding a set monster to the board here, potentially a Raikou that he wants to trigger eventually. And then we have a draw for turn, and Gold Sark adds back that Pot of Avarice, and we activate it immediately. So very good here. I mean, Pot of Avarice, just very, very powerful. Going to be putting back a bunch of gadgets. Looks like a Caius as well. Very strong here. And Gold Sark just giving you those 2 turns in a matchup like this. I mean, the 2 turns doesn't really matter. Tim was never really going to be threatened to lose the game in those 2 turns. And Gold Sark, just good card in this format. Searches anything at the cost of 2 turns at a -1. So and even in gadgets, you know, you're getting +1s every turn. That -1 doesn't really matter, which is why I really love Gold Sark in this 45 card version here. But a bunch of gadgets go back. Caius, that's about it. We're going to draw an extra card, 2 extra cards here. So very, very strong. Pot of Avarice. But Tim is now kind of has to face down the DD Warrior Lady and presumably a Raikou. I think it could be a Recruiter, but most likely it's a Raikou, just adding to the board there, wanting to interact and trade 1 for 1. And this is kind of a hard board to deal with without something like a Diva, Ultimate Offering play. So we're going to see what Tim has here, and he does have Deep Sea Diva, so finally we see the Diva side of the gadget deck coming out. And we're going to see if Rob has a response here, and it doesn't look like it. So we're going to see what we got here. Potentially can go for a Spined Gilman or another copy of Deep Sea Diva. Catastor seems to be pretty decent in this spot, just automatically killing the DD Warrior Lady. But then Rob still has that one back row he's kind of been holding on to, so you don't know what that could be. And it looks like he goes for another Diva, so there's going to be some sort of extending play here, whether it be Ultimate Offering or something like that. And it looks like it's Brain Control, so going to pay 800 here and take the DD Warrior Lady, at least try to take it. So solid play here is going to be able to synchro into 6, which is Bryonic, and then attempt to synchro into 8 as well. But let's see if he's going to use the effect of Bryonic here with priority, and it looks like he's discarding a yellow gadget. Always great value to discard gadgets to discard effects, and Bryonic is a good example of that. I imagine he's targeting the defense resistant monster here, and we have a Herald of Orange Light coming down, discarding a Christia to negate and destroy the Bryonic, and really good use of this card in this matchup. I think you just want to target the big impact cards, like the Synchro Monsters, the Deep Sea Divas, the Bryonic, the Synchro Monsters. Yeah, really strong here. Tim adds another back row and to his mix on the right side before passing, and I think that we're still at this point in the game where Tim still has gadgets, still has back rows. This deck can really control the game for a very, very long time, and that Deep Sea Diva is eventually going to be another Synchro Monster if Rob doesn't threaten to get rid of it on this turn. And with the 3 back rows, it might be a pretty difficult thing to do. So we have Call the Haunted here from Rob. I think this is a pretty aggressive Call the Haunted, but he has some good targets in the graveyard. See what Tim's response is going to be here before Rob grabs back. But nope, it looks like the call is going to resolve and just drop a Christia into play. But Tim does have Torrential Tribute now. So I think a little bit aggressive of play here. I think Rob loses his defense position monster, which I believe is a Raikou. I could see a sliver of the card. So maybe you would have liked to see the flip over of Raikou into one of those back rows before committing to the Christia. But nonetheless, I like Rob's aggression. I like his idea, just kind of just forcing through those back rows. And preventing the Diva from synchro summoning if it does somehow stay in play. But we're going to see what the follow-up is here, as Rob hasn't really normal summoned, so he can kind of take tempo. But it looks like he drops another Christia. Rob just Christia. Awesome. So, yeah, pretty interesting here. I mean, we have a Christia on top of the deck as well. The one that just got destroyed by Torrential, so... Christia just coming down, gonna add a card back. Presumably Herald of Orange Light to protect the Christia at this point. We haven't seen an Honest yet, so he can't grab that back. But oh, maybe he's gonna go for the play like he did on turn 1, where he grabs back the Dimensional Alchemist. He still has a normal summoned, and without fear of Torrential, you can kind of just drop down the Alchemist and banish that other Christia that's on top of the deck. Which I don't mind just kind of getting it out of the way, as you already have a Christia in play. That could potentially go back to the top. So yeah, we have Dimensional Alchemist coming to the hand, normal summoning it, and then banishing the Christia that was on the top of the deck. And an attack. So Dimensional Alchemist attacking in for 1800. It's going to bring Tim down to 49, and then Christia directly gets Dimensional Prisoned. So, very interesting play by Rob there. The aggressive Call of the Haunted actually kind of pays off, makes Tim have to deal with so many cards on the same turn, getting rid of those back rows. But now we have a Pot of Avarice, another one on Tim's side. Gonna put back the Divas, the Bryonic, not the Pot of Avarice, that would be pretty broken. But we're gonna put back those gadgets as well. So really interesting turn of events in that last turn there. Just Rob being able to do so many things in one turn, just applying pressure to Tim's back rows, and eventually just ending on a board with a floating Dimensional Alchemist and a big Banish pile, which is awesome. But Tim is going to have a chance to kind of climb back, and Tim just has massive card advantage at this point. You know, Rob doesn't have too many cards in hand. Although the Dimensional Alchemist is floating, Tim already has 3, and he's going to drop to 5 with the 1 back row in play as well. So very, very strong, and Avarice just very potent card in these longer, like, mid-rangey controlling matchups. As Tim draws 2 cards, and then we're going to see what the play is here. It's really important to have a play on this turn, you know, something like at least a green gadget, you know, something to attack and take the tempo back when you have card advantage is very, very important. And I think that something like a Diva could work as well. And it is Diva, so nice. So Diva is going to normal summon here and go grab Spine Gilman now. Diva just adds so much to the gadget deck, just insane combos, but also just being a strong card, just summoning a Catastor, and here comes Catastor now, gonna attempt to attack over the Dimensional Alchemist for 0 damage here, but just getting it out of play, and Rob is gonna add back a Christia from Banish Pile. So interesting interaction here. Now we have Catastor with a back row as well. And Rob is going to have some comeback plays in this game. I wonder if the Christie is live. Is the Dimensional Alchemist the 4th Fairy engraved? I believe it is, right? Isn't he just going to drop the Christia now? We're going to see exactly how many fairies he has engraved in a second. But Rob considering his options. And yeah, Christia live again. Rob just extremely strong sequencing. Just making sure that Christia is always live when he draws it. Always live when he adds it back. And he's going to add the Herald of Orange Light back now. And he could attempt to attack and then negate the activation of Catastor with Herald of Orange Light. But it looks like he's going to drop down a Freed. Again, he doesn't have to fear Torrential because Torrential's already in the graveyard. Just dropping down Freed with priority here. Gonna take care of the Catastor as long as Tim doesn't have a response. And Rob just really great sequencing with a deck that he hasn't really played much before. This is actually his first time playing the deck, so getting Rob into Edison format, trying some more decks other than his Gladiators and Aliens. And excellent show and display of the Fairies deck here. And Freed is going to banish a Dimensional Alchemist as well as I believe was a Warrior Lady. And we're going to pop that Catastor. And now we have a 28 stick and a 17 stick. Looking to attack into Tim's back row here. And we have the Free declaring an attack first. So Tim is going to take the 17 from 49. That brings him down to 32. Or not. Oh yeah, it does. And then the Christia declares a direct attack, bringing Tim down to 400, just 400 now, and then Tim draws and concedes the game. So Rob sequencing there, just getting the Christia in play over and over again, backing it up with Herald of Orange Light. Just really strong sequencing, very strong gameplay there. Let me know what you guys thought about the match here. I thought it was a very interesting matchup. Both decks very interesting. I thought that both decks displayed their power and prowess. I thought both players did a great job highlighting their respective decks. And make sure to check out the description below. We have a Discord down there, our Discord link for Silverstorm Gaming. Drop a comment in there. Drop a comment in videos and the video suggestion. I will literally upload anything you guys want. Any sort of matchup. We have all the cards, different profiles. Make sure you comment there. Comment below. Let us know what you thought about the gameplay, the commentary. I always respond to the YouTube comments. Pretty much always, every single one of them. And that is about it, guys. So without further ado, this is Dan V from SSG signing out.